Where's it go? Oh,
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that too, because I can talk about what has happened with me with it too in the last 2 weeks.
Hello. Time for our sugar talk. Cheers.
Cheers.
So we're covering pull-ups, sugar, rotator cuffs. I'm excited for that one.
All right.
We're ready? We're ready?
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Coffee with a Trainer. It's been a little bit, but now we're back for the 2020 edition. I'm joined today by Danielle Keperling. She's been on the show before. If you haven't watched these shows before, I encourage you to go back and check some of them out. There's a lot of priceless information on there. We do this for free because we want to help you guys. So this show is going to cover sugar, why it's bad, is it bad, and how do we use it in our day-to-day life. We're also going to be covering pull-ups, how to make them better, how to improve your pull-ups, and also I'm going to be covering rotator cuffs and what you need to do to actually improve them and prevent injuries in that area of the shoulder. So basically how Coffee with a Trainer works, if you have any questions, feel free to put them up on the screen and we'll try and get to them throughout the show. The first part of the show is going to be specifically about the sugar, and then I'll be doing the rotator cuff part up here, and then Danielle, we'll be taking her downstairs to do the pull-up assist.
Yep.
So Danielle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. It's Friday. I just wrapped up a sugar challenge, so I had a lot of great feedback from that. And I never did one specifically just on sugar, but the responses, eye-opening. It was good just to kind of know, what the sugar's in, just like healthy foods. And then your naturally occurring sugars found in fruits and vegetables. And that all counts towards your overall sugar number. So a lot of eye-opening for people, and just kind of, all right, where do we go from there, and how do we control our sugars on a regular basis?
Absolutely. So we met about 2 weeks ago, I guess, and we were talking about what we were going to cover on the show. We decided, since she's coming off the challenge, we would talk a little bit more about sugar today. She actually gave me a copy of her challenge to look over, so I decided to start it right away. I can say I'm 2 weeks in. I haven't been perfect, but I've been within 20% of what Danielle recommends, and I was 227 pounds when it started. Today I'm 221. So I'm down 6 pounds already just dropping sugar. Inflammation's been dropping a little bit. I'm pretty in tune with my body. Have some shoulder injuries from over the years, lower back injuries, leg injuries, and I'm feeling pretty good being on the anti-sugar. I'm on week 2, so I'm on like the 45 grams of sugar. That she takes you all the way down to about, 15 at the end?
Yeah, 15.
And we're going to go into a lot of stuff about sugar today, but I'm just giving you a quick, if you want to spend some time with Danielle going over her sugar challenge, she can give you some great information. Like I said, 6 pounds in 2 weeks. I mean, a lot of that's going to be water weight, getting rid of some glycogen, but I mean, some of that's obviously coming from fat too.
Yeah. Did you change anything else about your diet?
I've been staying pretty consistent with everything else. I was just focusing on the sugar. It was actually eye-opening. Danielle said to me, have you ever looked at the sugar within your carbohydrates? I said, not really, because I figured fruit is fine. You can have as many bananas as you want, but I never actually eliminated sugar from that direction before. So now I'm having maybe a banana a day. My multivitamins have a little sugar in them because they're the gummy type of things, but then the rest of my sugar is just coming from my vegetables overall, and a little bit of the whole grain bread has a little bit of sugar in it as well. But we'll get right into the show. Danielle is what I would call the sugar expert today. I'm just going to fill in and give my 2 cents on some things. But the first question that we have here is, where is sugar found and why is it so bad? And is it bad?
Well, it's funny that you said you even have to watch your vitamins. Sugar snuck into everything.
Yep.
And when you're doing a challenge and you're watching and calculating every gram of sugar, check your vitamins. The things that you don't even think twice about doing. Condiments is a huge thing. Like barbecue sauce, if you do a full serving, you're at 16 grams right there.
Yeah.
That's the most you can have at the end of the challenge in the whole day. So it just makes you look at different things and stay away from things that you really don't need. We just add it. Sometimes it's out of habit. Eating mints, doing gums, or just like I'm going to share this, I won't say who, but I think it's just so funny because we are so habitual. She was taking her girls into a candy store, and that was a really good challenge for her because she's like, I'm not buying a thing for myself. This is good. I'm going to look. They can get something little. And she said there was a woman there handing out samples, and she was like, okay, and was like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to eat that. No, it was just a sample. It's fine. But like, we are very habitual on just, sure, I'm not even going to think twice about that. And then you're like, wait, what did I just do? I'm like watching what paying attention to what I'm doing. So where the question was where you can find it.
Where's sugar found, and is it bad, or why is it so bad?
So you have naturally occurring sugars, which is in fruits and vegetables and some other carbohydrates. And then you have your added sugar. And added sugar is basically what added sugar. So they take sugar from different sources. So there could be syrups, there could be maltose, dextrose, all these different added sugars. It's added to a food to enhance its flavor. And that's really all that it does. It enhances its flavor, has no nutritional value. So why almost every single product you get off the middle of the shelves in the grocery store has added sugar. It's just to make it taste better, last longer, who knows, but it's not good for you. So when I created the sugar challenge, it was to make people aware what they were eating in their everyday. So take a typical day, just track your sugar and find out how much you have. That's a great starting point. And I've come across a lot of people that say, oh, I just don't eat sugar. Well, they really mean that they don't eat sweets. So they eat sugar, sweet potatoes, onions. They have 9 grams of sugar. I'm just letting you know.
That's crazy.
Onions, but there's naturally occurring sugars that it's still a sugar. Okay, your body does what it does if it's a gummy bear or if it's an apple. It's still sugar. Now the process and how our bodies digest it can change because apples have fiber in them, and so the sugar is slowly released into our system. So that's why you see some of these pre-workouts have sugar in them. So it's going to get to your bloodstream right away. As an apple, it's going to take a little bit longer because of the fiber and the way your body processes that. So tablespoon of sugar is going to immediately get into your bloodstream versus like a food product. So that kind of changes the way your body processes things. Now, we also have sweeteners on there, like an artificial sweetener. Yes, it doesn't have any calories. We already covered that sugar basically is empty calories. So now you have empty calories, so it really is or 0 calories. But you still have that sweetness, and what studies have been finding is that your body still thinks of it as a sugar. So your body's going to do its regular process, like it does, releases insulin to bring your sugar levels back down. So your body is still doing that thing that it needs to do when your body ingests sugar, but it's not, you're not having the calories there. So sugar substitutes, I'm not all for them. I don't add them to recipes. I just do other sugar alternatives. So I'm not all for artificial sweeteners, and yes, they have more natural ones. You'll find that artificial sweeteners, they get processed a little bit differently. The other ones can kind of be processed by the liver rather than its normal function by using, the normal function for sugar breakdown in your body, that process. So it's interesting. Your body can kind of detect this isn't real and this is real, and
yeah, it's so true. And then, going to your point about everything has sugar in it, just using your example of barbecue sauce. So you take 1 serving of barbecue sauce. If you order a plate of wings and you order barbecue, it's not going to just be 1 serving. It's going to be 2 or 3 servings because they're going to be smothered on your wings. You order an acai bowl with chocolate, nuts, bananas, raspberries. One of those bowls that you could be getting at a good, healthy place could have 100 grams of sugar in it without you even realizing it.
Right, and there's a time and a place. There really is. There's a time and place for that. So if I'm going to work out right away, and I'm going to use and burn up that sugar, most of it, then is it okay? I don't know. That you have to look and see how your body responds to sugar. And if you're someone who tends to put on weight easily, having that much sugar in one shot isn't the best option for you. So it's not like cut and dry. This is how it is for you, and this is how it is for me and my neighbor. So it depends on your activity level. But sitting down and having a good healthy meal, you think this is all these healthy. These are I have tons of fruit.
Yep.
I have tons of dark chocolate, which is supposed to be healthy, and you're right, you're up to 100 grams of sugar, and your body doesn't need 100 grams of sugar if you're just casually sitting around or you're not using it and burning it right away.
And that goes into another point, advanced athletes, people that are working out 2-3 hours a day, obviously, they're going to need additional sugar or additional carbohydrates in their day versus somebody who's sitting behind a desk for 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah, it does have a time and place, and it can be beneficial. Sugar is as a fuel source, so carbohydrate. When you lift, your body primarily uses glycogen. So our body has glycogen stores, and when we work out, and this is anaerobic, where your body doesn't need oxygen and to burn fat, so that your primary source is carbohydrate. You need those fuel sources, or you need the fuel source to then get through a workout. And if you're using it right away, that's when you tend to eat those higher sugar meals. And I'm saying higher sugar, maybe 20 grams. You don't need to do hundreds of grams or even 100 grams to get through a good workout.
Yeah, absolutely. And then some other points to bring up is, there's a lot of studies that show that with the insulin spikes that come from sugar and high carbohydrate diets, your fat burning zone actually gets greatly diminished because you have to stay at a certain insulin level for your body to start releasing the fat storage.
Right.
So the best example that I always give people is I work with type 1 diabetics. So they actually have to inject insulin throughout the day through a pump or manually to make sure that their blood sugar is staying at a steady level. But what I found is that when their blood sugars are a little bit higher in the gym, after a hard workout, their blood sugars will be back to the normal range. But when I find that they're losing the most body fat and when they're burning the most calories and they're actually losing weight is usually when they're staying in that 100 to 150 insulin per day. When they're staying around 300, I find it almost impossible for them to burn body fat.
Yeah, and
So-
that is like I say a fact, but there is a ton of evidence showing that your body will hold fat burning when your insulin is released and it's trying to bring your insulin and your sugars back down. So what's the trade-off here? Do I want to spike my insulin sugar so high that my body's focusing on bringing it down and it halts fat burning? Or do you want a nice, like we call it like little hills and valleys instead of peaks on mountains? And hills and valleys is the best way to go when you are trying to balance out and you want to optimize your fat burning.
Absolutely. And we talk about, muscle recovery sometimes, and muscle recovery, there's been some research that suggests, like you said, a little bit of sugar post-workout with your protein may actually get the protein into the muscle cells a little bit faster. It's not conclusive evidence, but there's some studies pointing in that direction that say, okay, maybe you wake up the next day, you'll be a little less sore because the protein gets into your muscles a little more efficiently. It's shuttled with a glucose molecule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence that's saying that pairing protein and pairing with a carbohydrate has been shown effective. And that's also pre-workout and post-workout, and to kind of using that other macronutrient, not just protein alone or carbohydrate alone, it's paired with something. And usually when I tend to do snacks or eating and just like, that's how I plan my meals for the day, I pair it with something else. Because your body, things can just be absorbed better depending on what it is. And there's like vitamins that need other vitamins to assist it.
Yep.
Your body works the same way. Bodies are very complicated.
Yeah, it's all a lot of good information, because another piece of evidence that I've been seeing recently is some of the worst foods for you are the ones that actually combine fat, protein, and carbohydrates in the same meal.
Yeah.
And our bodies actually do a little bit better with protein and fat together, or protein and carbs together.
Right.
When you combine the three, talking cakes, ice cream, donuts, cheesesteaks, pizza, now you're having stuff that your body's going to take a lot longer to process and put you back into that fat burning zone.
Right. Well, think about it too. It has more calories there that your body probably more than it needs to use. And I always think of like that lava experiment at school where you're building your volcano and you kind of you add your baking soda, and like if you add too much and then it just kind of spills out, and we don't want to spill out, so we want to use everything we can, and then maybe a little bit more for later.
We'll leave Mount Vesuvius where it is. But anyway, I have a challenge for everybody watching this, anybody watching it back later today. As Danielle said, we have clients. Since I started this challenge 14 days ago, I've been talking to my clients about it and saying, and right away, the blanket response is, I don't eat sugar, because as Danielle said, they're saying, I don't consume candy.
Right.
But when they actually start looking, most of my clients are somewhere in 100 to 120 grams of sugar a day, which the challenge starts at 60. So for the next 2 days, my challenge for you, I know it's the weekend, but do it anyway. I want you to look down and write down everything you consume and figure out how many grams of sugar are in your days. It might be eye-opening for you. And then touch base with Danielle or myself if you need some additional help to bring that number down, because you don't want to do it all at once, because what can happen if you do that?
Yeah, so when you eliminate, just like anything else, usually, and sugar it's addictive. So just like, caffeine, you can experience headaches. Hey, do you got any sugar in that coffee? Speaking of sugar.
No, it's black. Pumpkin with Ceylon cinnamon.
Nice. But yeah, your body, so our bodies can act like sugar is almost a drug, that we need it, because when we eat sugar, it releases our feel-good feelings of, dopamine and things like that. So we tend to go back and get more, or it's not satisfying. So that 2 o'clock sugar crash, we're craving something because we want that good feeling. So we'll reach for something a little bit on the sweeter side. I was telling my group that we typically don't reach like, oh, I'm craving, I'm like having a protein snack in the midday, and that typically doesn't happen, because we know the effects of sugar and how it makes our bodies feel, but we might not even know that this process is happening and why we reach for things. But I was going off in a tantrum.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all good information.
So as you cut down on sugar, you could experience headaches. You could feel like you have the flu. So something that serious does actually have a very serious impact on your body. Sugar, I have a list. So I gave this sugar packet to all my participants, and just real quick, a list running down how it has a huge effect on your brain. And I gave the example of, we are likely to crave a candy bar at 3 p.m. Because fruits and vegetables, they don't cause the brain release as much dopamine. So cover that. Joints, so I know if I have a lot of sugar, especially around the holidays, like my joints are achy. I have a lot of arthritis in my knee, and even though I take glucosamine with chondroitin, that when I have a lot of sugar, the inflammation's there. Skin, so you can have saggy or not tight skin, because there's sugar attaches to the proteins in your bloodstream, creating harmful molecules called ages. So believe it or not, it actually ages your skin, and this is called advanced glycation end products. So that actually can age your skin, just like smoking and other things can age your skin. Not enough water can feel like your skin is dry. So sugar does play a part on your skin. Obviously your heart, it can affect your blood pressure. We tag sodium as a big one for blood pressure, but sugar as well. Sugar is a big one for blood pressure. And then obviously, as an energy source. So sugar plays a lot of roles. A lot of it's negative. Some of it can be positive and help, as long as you're having the right amount of sugar.
Yeah, and then don't forget about certain types of sugar cause teeth decay.
Yeah.
Much faster, as well as if you do have cancer cells active in your body, it's been shown that sugar can actually increase the speed at which cancer metastasizes.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research this morning just to give you guys some more information that could be helpful. Sugar's really bad at producing inflammation in your body. As Danielle said, with her knee, with my shoulder, my lower back, my knees, same type of thing. When you're eating a lot of sugar, you're eating a lot of salt, you're a little dehydrated, you can find that overall your body moves in a less efficient pathway. So, lifting your shoulder, you kind of, you wake up in the morning, your back hurts, something like that. you want to keep that inflammation down. Sugar is one of the first things you can do to reduce that. Increasing your hydration is the second thing you can do to help with that. 90% of the time, I'm talking about tangents. 90% of the time when my clients say their knee hurts, I tell them to go chug some water. 15 seconds later, their knees feel fine. So you're probably dehydrated. Shoot for 100 to 140 ounces a day, depending on the size of your human, yourself. So foods that cause inflammation: sugar or high fructose corn syrup, trans fats, vegetables and seed oils, refined carbohydrates, binge drinking, and processed meats. Processed meats, I just found out today that they just did another research study. 3 to 7% increased risk of heart disease just by having 2 servings of processed meats per week. So there's another reason to keep your processed meats to a minimum. I don't think they're necessarily lumping really good, high-quality steaks into that category. It's more the lunch meats, the bacons, the pepperoni, things along those lines. But I also came up with a little acronym for you to remember. It's dampest, like your clothing, damp, but it's the dampest, to the BB, to the GG, to the TC. So here's the foods that are anti-inflammatory. So write that down. Dampest, to the BB, to the GG, to the TC. I'm rapping today. All right, so you got berries, salmon, broccoli, avocados, green tea, peppers, mushrooms, grapes, turmeric, however you say it, extra virgin olive oil, dark chocolate, tomatoes, and cherries. So I actually spoke to my wife about that this morning, and we determined that we eat almost all of those. I don't really do green tea. She doesn't really do grapes. But overall, in our week, we have all of those ingredients at some point. The dark chocolate, you don't need sugar. You can do the unsweetened cocoa powder. You can put that right into your unsweetened dark chocolate cocoa powder into your smoothies, and that's a good way to get it.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on those inflammatory foods?
Yeah, and I've done diets for people that just have inflammation and give them, here's your no-nos, or have once in a while. But yeah, I mean, to think about the things that you put on your body, to think about the things in your body, it definitely plays a part and can affect your body. So if you're like, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, I'm more achy, I think I'm just getting older, honestly, take a look at your diet. If you are more prone to inflammation, or RA runs in your family, rheumatoid arthritis, then take a look at your food choices. If you like chicken breast, I like chicken, but that is one on the inflammatory list.
True.
So you have to just take a look at everything, because most likely it's what you're choosing to eat in your body. It's not you just getting old, which that might have a little part of it, but it's the diet. The diet has a huge part of how you feel inside, outside, skin, brain, function, and all the above.
Yeah, and I think lastly with the inflammatory foods like your steaks, your chicken, things along those lines. Now, obviously, if they're inflammatory overall. It doesn't matter the quality, but if you're looking at organic and grass-fed and things along those lines, the inflammatory response is probably going to be much less. So still be looking for the highest quality of those foods, even if you are going to eat something that's a little inflammatory, because we're all human. You want to live life.
Yeah, you have the great foods, but then the process. So I have a client of mine who just reads everything, which is great, but he's also like, well, did you know about this? Did you know about this? And I'm like, yeah, I heard. I have to do some more research. But it's scary, actually, when you start to get down and figure out the process of things. So you could have something good. Like, let's just say, let's take a coffee bean. There's a lot of good qualities of coffee. It can be addictive, so there are some negative side effects. But we consume so much coffee as Americans, or in general, but the process, where did that bean come from? So he sent me something, and it was like top 10 foods that are filled with pesticides, and sadly enough, coffee was on that. So think about the ground and the soil that your items are grown in, and then, but that's a whole nother, I feel like, a segment that we need to touch on. But
yeah, I mean, that's something maybe we can get into in the future. But yeah, recently I've been reading about coffee filters that are permanent filters, that you don't actually put a paper in, but you put the coffee in there, the oils from the coffee actually still make their way through those ready-to-go filters. So it's still a good idea to put a piece of paper in there, a coffee filter, to keep the oils trapped inside that paper, because those oils have been proven to increase your cholesterol levels, HDL and LDL. And obviously LDL is the one you don't want, HDL is the one you want more of, because it actually can consume some of the LDL. But you want to avoid those oils, especially if you have cholesterol issues for yourself or in your family. So that's pretty much what we wanted to cover with sugar. The only thing I had left...
I had the what's recommended.
Yeah, so, recommended amounts, yep.
So recommended, so okay, I did the challenge. Now, where should I have my sugar? So I always try to keep it at 15. Like I said, depending on what you're doing, if you're doing 3 hard workouts a week, maybe your higher sugar days, it makes sense to put them on those 3 days. And then your other days that you're not going to use the sugar as much, then you just keep it on the lower side. But recommended, I would say between 35 and 50 grams of sugar total. Now that includes your fruits and vegetables. That includes everything. So it's not just added sugar. American Heart Association says that women and children really should be around 25 grams and men 38 grams. So as a parent, and I'm buying organic things, but just because it's organic doesn't mean that they still don't add sugar. So it's looking at those labels, and applesauce is a huge, huge snack for kids at schools and everything else. And you flip that label around, you're up at 20, even 30 grams of sugar. That's it, they're done for the day. And we all know that that's not possible. So as a parent, I'm like angry. Like, I just want to choose something that doesn't have sugar in it to send my kids to school, because their little bodies actually, and a lot of behavior problems can just arise from sugar over time, and why wouldn't it? We already know the effects it plays on our bodies. So just getting those little bodies, very addictive. You give a piece of candy, they're coming back, they're going to ask every day, can I have a piece of candy? Can I have a piece of candy? And it's hard as a parent. You have to break that because they're, I feel like, almost addicted to sugar. Think, okay, I'm gonna applesauce, healthy sandwich, or hummus and carrots, and then maybe a fruit snack. What about their juice box? Is it milk? Is it flavored milk? Dairy has sugar. You can open up a child's lunchbox and you look at it and you're like, this is fantastic. This looks really good. They're at 60 grams of sugar, just for their lunch. What do they have for breakfast? Cereals, so high in sugar. Trying to get your kids to do alternative things with you. Like, my kids love, I'll buy the Kodiak cakes, but I get the watch, because Kodiak cakes, their sugar content is up. So there's better brands, or I'll just make my own homemade pancakes using a paleo or keto mix. And we don't really use syrup in our house. I get them to use whipped cream. Okay. So everything, we don't use butter, we don't use syrup, but whipped cream, they do a shot, and they love it because it sprays everywhere.
It's a good idea.
But that's their alternative. Or oatmeal. If you're like, I need it a little bit sweet, make your oatmeal plain. Don't buy that pre-packaged stuff, and then add a squirt of whipped cream on top. I swear it changes your life.
Absolutely.
And it reduces your sugar content immensely. You see some stuff coming in.
We also didn't touch on alcohol, so the mixers that you put in your alcohol, you have to be really careful with too. People think, vodka and orange juice, it's healthy because it's orange juice. Well, orange juice has 60 grams of sugar in 12 ounces. So make sure you're paying attention to what mixers you're using as well. I am okay personally with stevia. I'm not a big fan of aspartame or sucralose or Splenda, but I do personally use stevia because it's one of the more natural sweeteners. I know, Danielle, you're not so much into it as much as me, but the way I look at it, if I'm going to have a rum and Coke, I'll do a stevia. It's called Zevia, the soda. So you do 10 ounces of that with 2 ounces of rum. It's coming in at 120 calories, 0 sugar. So if you're going to have some indulgences with your drinking, you got to be careful about what kind of sugar you're adding there.
Yeah. Beer, actually, stouts, like dark beer, sugar is way up on those. Cider, so thinking, I'm going to stay away from gluten, and for some reason, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, when people say this is gluten-free, they just lump it into this is just so healthy, just because it doesn't have gluten. Well, that's far from the truth. But your cider beers have the highest sugar.
They do.
And you're looking, depending on the beer, but like 18 grams in one.
Yeah.
Some 20. But your wines have your lowest sugar. Champagne actually has the least amount of sugar. So always find something to celebrate.
And liquors are 0, unless they're sugar-based liquors. So rum, vodka, whiskey are all good to go. But you don't want to be doing blue Caraco and things like that.
But then what are you mixing it with?
It depends on what you're mixing it with.
So exactly. So you just have to watch. You have to pay attention to everything.
And we have Google, so make sure you go on Google and check the beers out. So if you're having an IPA, see how much sugar's in that.
Oh.
There are beers that have minimal sugar.
Yeah, margarita. Someone's posted margarita.
Margarita,
oh my gosh.
727 calories.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done. You're toast for the day. All right, do you have anything to close on sugar?
I challenge you to pay attention to it. And again, if you're one of those people that say, I don't eat sugar, but like if Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, nothing in it, 5 to 6 grams of sugar. So I challenge you just to, record it, use an app, or write it down, and just to see really in reality where you are. It's easy to be naive and just think that, yep, I'm good, and then if you want to make a change, always go back to recording everything down, so then you know where your starting point is, and you can always make your improvements from there.
Absolutely. One last part I wanted to touch on. I did have a couple questions from last week when I asked what the biggest struggle was. People were asking, the biggest thing was lack of motivation, and for me, the way to get motivated is to find people and things which motivate you. So I do 10-minute meditations basically to clear some space in my brain. After I come out of that, usually I have a little bit more energy and I feel like I'm ready to move a little bit more. I have friends like Danielle who are extremely motivating. I listen to podcasts that are extremely motivating. That's what you need to do to get off that couch and get that momentum going. And just get started. Become the type of person that goes to the gym. Drive to the gym, go inside. If you leave after 5 minutes, I don't care. Just every day or 3 days a week, get to that gym, start going, even if it's 5 minutes, and then you'll become the type of person that says, oh, I need to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I've had those days where I'm sitting in the car, I don't want to go in there. I don't feel like working out today. It even happens to me. I don't know if it happens to Danielle.
It does. This morning, I'll give you this morning. I already had my clothes, and put your clothes out the night before. I put my clothes out, and I'm waking up at like 4:30, so I don't want to turn the lights on, and I don't want to get dressed in the dark and not have my clothes on the right way. So I just get them out the night before anyway. So, but my alarm was set, and I hit it 3 times, I hit snooze, because in my mind I thought, I had a really busy day, and I'm going to do laundry, and I'm going to get some things done before. I have 3 little kids, so I'm going to get some stuff done before. So I let my alarm snooze for 3 times, and then I said, nope, get up and go. Even, I had a plan. If you don't have a plan, you get up, and you just make it happen. So I did throw a load of laundry in my washer before I left, and then I switched it out when I got home, so I got a couple things done.
Silent victory.
It is. And you know what, though? Get a buddy, honestly. It is so nice. Ashley posted a video or an article on the types of people that go to the gym. Whether you just have a walking buddy or something, your dog, like anything to keep you accountable might be my huge thing. When I do shows, when I do any type of training for something specific, even I tell people about it because they're going to hold me accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was our segment on sugar with a little touch on motivation. Now I'm going to grab a couple dumbbells. You going to do this with me?
Oh, you want me to do it? Yeah, I can do it.
It's basically going to be rotator cuff, how to protect your rotator cuff, and I'm also going to touch on how to build nice shoulders like these for summer. Be right back.
Shoulders. Is there any other questions? Let's see. All right.
I gave you some little guys there.
Okay, perfect.
So the first thing I always want to touch on when you're talking about rotator cuffs is it's a very, very easily injured part of the body. So you have your 4 muscle groups, 4 tendons that are involved in your rotator cuff. You have your supraspinatus, your infraspinatus, your subscapularis, and your teres minor. I also like to lump the trapezius into that group, even though it's not technically part of the rotator cuff. And your front, medial, and rear deltoids I also like to include because those muscles, if they're strong, they keep the rotator cuff protected. And don't forget about your back muscles with your teres, your rhomboids, your lats. All that stuff keeps your rotator cuff protected. So I created this little warm-up that I like to do before each shoulder routine or each chest routine. If you have rotator cuff injuries already, you can do this as a standalone. But if you already have a rotator cuff injury, what I want to caution you on is if this is your range of motion, that's okay. Don't go to the point of pain. Go to the point of a little bit of a stretch. So I'm going to run you through this here. A lot of my clients have had rotator cuff issues over the years because of work, because of picking things up improperly. I even had somebody reach for a glass and partially tear the rotator cuff. Personally, I had a partially torn rotator cuff, so I've learned how to rehab these things myself. So, first thing I like to do, when you're going away from your body, it's your supraspinatus. When you're coming into your body, it's your infraspinatus. So basically what I like to do is combine a lot of different things. So we're going to go palm up first, and we're just going to go one round through these. So palm up, keep your elbows in, and you're going to rotate out. And again, you're going to be doing this before your shoulder routine, before your chest routine.
And then if I'm just working on this to strengthen my shoulders, can I do this 3 times a week?
Do I
want to do lightweight, like 5? Should I keep trying to work up to higher weight, or just keep it?
So with rotator cuffs, I like to keep it really light. So 3 to 5 pounds usually. You can go all the way up to 10, I would say. Anything beyond that, I think you're risking more damage than good. You see some people trying to do this with 40 pounds. I don't find that to be effective. All right, now you're going to go palms down, straight arms, and you're just going to do a front raise, touching on a V. And again, you're just warming everything up when you're doing this. So if you wanted to strengthen your front deltoids, your medial deltoids, or your real deltoids, obviously you'd be using some heavier weights and some rep ranges. This is just making sure your whole shoulder girdle is nice and warm before you start your regular routine.
Love those girdles.
Love those girdles. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come back to the side. Elbows are going to be in. Rotate out.
No, sir, you cannot.
We had an intruder.
They will join us.
It's the combination of these 6 moves that I'm going to run you through. It's basically going to hit your entire rotator cuff. So you're going to do 12 of these, and now we're going to go right into the lateral raise, so it's straight up like this. I like to run through this 2 times before those workouts. And you can already start feeling your shoulder warming up.
Yeah. So if I maybe was injured, it's okay to bring it to here?
Yeah, so if you're here, and here is where it hurts, you want to stop just shy of where it hurts. And if you have a lot of pain on a regular basis, it's probably best to go see your doctor or a physical therapist or a trainer that's dealt with this type of thing before. And then the last 2, you're going to keep your elbows in again. Now your palms are going to be down. You want to make sure your wrists are straight. You don't want to cock them up like this. You don't want to have them hanging. Wrists straight, shoulder blades back, rotate. It's okay if your elbows come off the body a little bit. If you find that you're having a hard time doing that, you can take a water bottle and just pop it in there and make sure you keep your elbow in.
I feel like my wrists want to go down.
Yep. All right, and then the last one, you're just going to drop your chest, keep your palms towards you, back flat, shoulder blades back, open them up, rear deltoid. So you worked all 4 muscles of the rotator cuff. You worked your front, medial, and your rear deltoid. All right, and that's basically your warm-up. What I like to do when you're at the end of a chest routine or a shoulder routine, I'm not actually going to demonstrate it, but you take one of these bands, wrap it around a pole.
I'll be your pole.
All right, there you go. All right. So what you want to do is the same thing with the dumbbells. You're going to do external rotation. So elbow in, rotate across the body. That's your supraspinatus. Coming across the body, elbow in, pulling across the body. That's your infraspinatus. Then you face the other way, do the exact same thing on the opposite side. You can also do pulls where your elbow is going to be back, rotate up like that. That gets a little bit more into the infraspinatus and subscapularis. And then you can also push down. So those 4 moves are actually going to hit the entire rotator cuff. I like doing them at the end of the routine because your muscles are already warmed up and are already ready to go. So we're going to head downstairs now. Danielle's going to go into pull-ups and how to improve those. We're going to go off Facebook Live just for a minute and we will see you soon.